Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back this week again for another great guest. I tell you, the Charge Podcast is all about bringing you great guests that give you different viewpoints that really allow you to make you think. Because remember, CHARGE is an acronym for Create Habits Around Real Goals Every Day. So what are you needing? What are you wanting? What habit maybe are you trying to implement in your life today? Well, today I've got a special guest with us, Richard A. Cross. He's a former police officer, athlete, and restorative justice facilitator. Cross's mission is to empower 1 million Black male students in helping them to recognize their potential and to empower them to become leaders of change and change agents. Richard A. Cross believes that we should not limit ourselves. Think small or refrain from taking on big and challenging projects that can help so many people in the long run to achieve their goals in life. Cross is committed to helping you to become your best self because he believes that you have the innate abilities to achieve amazing things in life. Cross is an empowerment and transformational speaker, educator, and author of 17 books, including Going Beyond Limitations. Richard, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here. I know it took some time to get here, but finally I'm here, and I really appreciate the opportunity, to come and share with you and your audience. So again, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so honored that you said yes. You and I crossed paths actually at a book signing event
Yes,
here
sir.
in Jefferson City. And 17, I'm not to that number yet, Richard. I'm only at 4, but I'm going to continue to write and love sharing those messages. And I guess I really like people to start with the podcast is sharing their story. Because, of course, we said you're a police officer and you've done a lot of different things. You've written 17 books. But there's always a story behind how did we get to where we're at today? Would you mind sharing?
Yes. Thanks for asking that question. Because sometimes people see me today, they think my path to here was somewhat an easy path, but it wasn't. It didn't even look like this. It didn't even look like I was supposed to be anything in life, to be honest with you. So I will start off, because I grew up in Jamaica and stuff like that. I grew up in poverty. I see my mom, my dad, do domestic work. We have several days when we didn't have things to eat. That was the type of challenge. And I was a student who didn't do so well academically, not because I couldn't, but because I used to blame my situation or my ability on my situation. So it reflected in my academic performance. But a good thing for me, I was an athlete. I was somewhat a good athlete. So I dedicated my time as an athlete. I would train when no one else is training. I would show up when no one else is there, So I think the discipline in track and field helped me, even though I didn't have, most of my basic needs met, growing up in Jamaica. And when I tell people that, it was hard. And I said before, there were days when we didn't have things to eat, So when you don't have things to eat, you tend not to focus well. And, throughout that time of my life, I went through high school, graduated from high school, but I wasn't seen as someone who was supposed to go to college. And I like to tell people that I end up in college on grace, because God has a different plan for you sometimes when you don't even know. So someone in my community pointed me in the right direction. And from there, I still went to college in Jamaica with the mindset that I was an average person. So I literally see my way through. I passed all my classes, but I still believe that I was an average person. So I went there, graduated as a physical education teacher, didn't get a job when I finished. So I went back home and someone thought I was a police officer, believe it or not. And I went to the police station. I talked to the sergeant at the police station, and he encouraged me to go and take the test. I've never seen myself as a police officer, but sometimes in life, again, you have an encounter, and that encounter directs you in the right path. So I took the test, didn't tell my parents because they don't like, the idea of being a police officer. And I joined the police force, and from there things just started to change. Continue doing track, and came to the States to compete. Met the coach at Lincoln University. And actually, he went to recruit somebody that I beat at the track meet. And that's how I got to Lincoln. And when I got to Lincoln, though, something changed. My mindset changed. I became the top student on campus with the highest GPA. And that's when I started questioning myself, where this ability came from. Not knowing that it was already in me all my life. But based on my circumstances at times, I used to doubt. Well, actually, I didn't even doubt myself. I didn't even think that I could. And, but from there, things started to change. I published my first book as a student. And, it just, once you start to realize your potential, and that's what I tell people every day. Once you realize that something is there, and for people now, because I know it is in them, I don't wait for them to say, wait until you recognize. I'm going to tell you it's there. You just know have to accept that it's there. And that's what happened for me. And from there, I graduated. Well, actually, I graduated within 3 years. So it's not to say I was the smartest, but I just realized that, if you work hard, you can achieve goals that you didn't think you could before. And, I went on, published so many books. And, I'm kind of, not telling the story in all the details. But I went on to publish a book, and I'm now a few months away from my doctoral degree. So I'm just here to empower and share and inspire as many people, because a lot of times based on your environment, at times you doubt your own ability. And that's what I want people to realize, man, it's in you. Just realize it. And if you don't believe it, say it until you believe, because sometimes that's how you're going to change that mindset, to recognize your greatness. So, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. It's a little bit deeper, especially when you read Going Beyond Limitations. So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And there's so many different ways we can go with this, Richard, but I know you want to inspire and have the others. And I think the thing is, for my audience, I call them chargers, is everyone kind of sit there self and say, well, I didn't get this luxury. I didn't get this. And you shared you really didn't have many luxuries at all. And I'm kind of curious, I'm going to start this way, as an athlete though, you had this training and you showed up even when others weren't, and you had that innate ability that within inside of you in the athlete side. You said you didn't have it in schooling at the beginning that was there. So when you look back at that then, and you look at now, what do you think really motivated you to have it back then? And how did that come forward to make some of that transformation of where you're at today?
Well, I believe that was the only thing I was good at.
Okay.
So, being that it was the only thing, I was beating the guys in track when I was in high school and even primary school. So that kept me going. I didn't see another way out. I didn't know how I was I know I wanted to change my situation because I was tired of seeing my mom crying because when she couldn't afford certain things. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't know how, other than, maybe track and field is going to be the way out. I wasn't like a superstar athlete, but, in my community, I was somewhat the best. People see me as the best. People see me as someone who could go places with track and field. So with that, I continue to train even when people say, man, you're at a school that's not going to go take you places, but I still show up. I didn't know how it was going to happen, as they have one of these quotes, you don't need to know how. You just need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And I wanted to change my situation. And that's what kept me going. Even when I didn't see how I was going to get out of my situation, I train. And if you plant the seed, you must get a reward. So I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and you definitely planted seed. Like you said, the coach
Yes.
from Lincoln was really not recruiting you, was recruiting the other person, but you beat them. So that's the way you was able to create a seed. And I'm curious there because really from that side of it is we limit ourselves so much, as you've said, with our mindset and with our
Yes, sir.
thoughts that's there. And when we're looking to achieve goals, one of the keys is we've got to get past those limiting beliefs or limitations that we put on ourselves. And I
Yes, sir.
talk about creating habits around real goals to allow those to achieve those. How do you think that really plays in it for others? And what's the greatest struggle there to help them really, really realize that they're the ones that can empower themselves to achieve their goals?
Well, that's a great question because, in my book, Going Beyond Limitations, that's what I start off with, letting go of limiting beliefs. Stop telling yourself that you can't, because whatever you tell yourself, I can tell you every single day that you are great. And if you don't tell yourself that you are great, you're not going to realize that potential. And as I said before, if you don't believe it right now, tell yourself until you believe. So the first thing that I would say, don't tell yourself that you can't do something. You try it. And even if you try and fail, try again. Because if it is something that you enjoy doing, you can become better at it. And over a period of time, you find that you are doing exceptionally well at something that you had doubt in before. So you said the right thing, man. Let go of limiting beliefs. Because it's most of the times we are the one who stop ourselves, from doing what we are capable of doing. So even if you're not good at it right now, but you enjoy doing it, keep going. You'll get better.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that. And one of the things I do when I have audience, I'll normally do, I've probably done it 300 or 400 times with audiences. I show them the power of influence. And it's really about the power of words. And what happens is I ask a guest to come up, and normally I pick the big, strong guy in the audience, and I tell them to hold their arms out straight out to their side. And I let them know, and I challenge them now as another male to a male, I'm going to try to pull your arms down, and you're not going to let me do it. But, are you going to let all these people see that you're a weakling? And of course, they put their arms out, and we have our greatest strength when they're straight out, and you can barely move them. You may be able to move them a little bit if you've got a strong guy. And then I have another audience member come up, and I tell them they're going to tell you only all false things. And it's things like, oh, I don't like your hair, or Richard's actually a little bit bald there. He cuts him off and stuff because that's his style, or it's gray or whatever, the person has your mustache, don't like your tie or his shirt. And for 30 seconds, and they are told that they're all false things, but then they put their arms back out. And what happens? Their strength. It may not completely collapse, but normally they are weaker then. And I think that relates to what you just shared with us, those thoughts that we put in. If we're putting in negative, we're getting negative back out. But if we put that positive thoughts, I can, I will, I can accomplish this goal, I can move forward. That's how we start making that transformation. And in our world, let's be honest, we're not in a world that lives on positivity.
That's right.
There's a small segment of people like you and I that speak on it. And there's a whole lot of people that talk about what's wrong with everything. And I
That's
think
right.
that becomes
Yes.
a real change. So I guess as you're an empowerment coach, share with us how you help others. And I know some is through this transformation process to empower them on their thoughts that they have. But what do you share with them, or even with your audiences, that they understand that they can empower themselves and move forward?
I find that we connect with each other um, from a personal standpoint easier. So I always start with my story. Always share where I'm coming from, because again, sometimes people see you here, they see you look professional and see, you may be driving a nice car and they think it was just like this. But when they hear the story, when they hear where you're coming from, you make that connection. So now they see themselves through you, what's possible through you. So I always start with my stories to let the people that I'm empowering, encouraging, trying to have them see themselves doing great things. I let them see that this is not where I started. if innately we have the ability, but I let them know that you can start right here. It doesn't matter what you have. You just have to use what you have.
Mm.
You understand? So it doesn't matter what you have, but you have to use what you have. So again, when I share with my story, I talk about, the track and field. Again, to many of my teachers, I wasn't supposed to be anything in life because, in classrooms, I wasn't reflecting that I had that ability. But again, maybe I was just distracted because of my situation. And we all are distracted at some point. Some of us are more focused because we know exactly what we want to do. So that guides us. But when you're in a space where you're not sure of what you want or what you want to do, you're going to see all the different things that's going to distract you. So again, I start with my story. Let the people know that, look, what it can help you to be great is already within. You just have to start using it and be patient with yourself, because a lot of times people want this transformation just like that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be able to work their way to where they want to go and be patient, because and sometimes, expect some setbacks or disappointments and stuff like that. And with that, with that type of mindset, you can push yourself past those barriers. And once you start getting ahead, you start to feel more confident. And the more confident you become, you start to do more of what you want to do. Again, so I start with my story, share where I'm coming from, make the connection, and let them know that it's already within them to do great.
Yeah, and that becomes really crucial because people see, okay, I have that opportunity too by sharing your story that you shared with us very beginning. And I know you shared it with us quickly there, but even in that, we was able to gain so much about you. I mean, things that I did not know about you of where you're at now, because that
Yes, sir.
capability, like you said, is inside you. And I think it's one of our challenges in society right now because people think there's instant success. And
Correct.
there's very, very little overnight instant success, because if you don't have the foundation of some of them struggles, then number one, you can't appreciate the success you do have.
That's right. That's right. You said the right thing. People see sometimes the end result of someone 5 years, of someone 10 years. So what they're seeing, they're thinking it is overnight. So I want to have that type of success. Don't realize that, it comes with a struggle. It comes with sacrifice. It comes with unwavering commitment. If and just wanting it doesn't make the success happen. You have to go through the process. You have to be willing to do what it takes to achieve the goals you want to achieve. And again, it may take longer than that person, but you have to be willing to pay the price. So there's no overnight success. What you see may be overnight, but that person may have spent 5-10 years working on that goal that they now achieve.
Well, I love your mission that you have of empowering 1 million Black male students to help them recognize their potential and empower them to be leaders of change and change agents. And it kind of sets my next question to you is, with all the current events going on right now in our country, really in the United States, and it's going on in other places too, but here in the United States, how can we help each other? Because, I'm a white male. But how can I help others realize they are leaders of change agents also, meaning we all have this capability within us? That's your mission, I understand. But my thing is, how can we all recognize that we can learn from each other? Just like you and I are learning from each other from this discussion, that we've got a heck of a lot more similar than we do that's separate. So how would you share that? And with what I think it fits in what you're sharing with your, that your mission is with these Black male students, that they have that capability within themselves.
Well, yes, and I appreciate that question, because one thing, when I was studying sociology, I realized that our environment cannot be the best if we are all not at our best. And the reason why I chose Black males as one of my focus, again, because I was one of those students who wasn't supposed to, who was told that I'm not going to be anything. I'm not going to amount to anything in life. And if we keep that mindset, somebody is going to not be able to achieve their goal because you don't achieve your goals and stuff like that. And again, human capital is the best, the most valuable resources. A country, a community, that human beings are the most valuable resources. So if human beings can become their best, what's going to happen to your community? What's going to happen to your country? The country will thrive. So that's, my focus, my mission, of course. But I want Black male students to realize that, society may say one thing, but you don't have to believe what society says. You don't have to think the way society wants you to think. You don't have to limit yourself to what society wants you to limit yourself to. I was an athlete, growing up, even when I just started my doctoral degree, most of the research was showing me how, a lot of Black male students go towards being an athlete, and they're praised more when they're doing well athletically, but they're not praised as the same when they're doing well academically. And that can also discourage some students. Some Black male students don't want the world to see their greatness academically. But, as soon as they are doing well as an athlete, oh yeah, they be showing it. And because it's not customary to show academic prowess for Black males. So not until that becomes customary, we will start to see more males who are great at what they do from an academic standpoint, feel more comfortable sharing it. So that's one of the things I want to get Black male students to understand, that not because it's not something you see doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it. We can change the perception, we can change the misconception, but we have to get that in our mind that, yes, we can do it. And as I said, with your question, how white males or our white counterpart can help, us achieving this goal, is to give our support, because as you have seen in civil rights, it wasn't just Black people fighting against the injustice. There are white people there supporting, Black people to gain access to certain things. So it's just to give the support, again, because we become better by working together, because the change we want is not going to happen just by Black person or white person. We have to work together to make this thing happen. Yes, my focus is more, say, Black males, but again, I can tell you, even on LinkedIn, I get a lot of, white supporters, acknowledging what I'm doing and sharing or resharing the work that I'm doing and stuff like that. So it's about, working together. Everybody's going to have their different path, just as though you're doing the podcast, giving me the opportunity to share what I'm doing. So it's a collective work. But yes, we have our different areas that we'll be focusing on. It's just the support that we need to make sure we can make the impact, that's possible.
Well, you're definitely making an impact. And one of the statements that you mentioned is not allow basically to be dictated what society says. Instead, we as individual, going back to your human capital side of it, we have that capability. And I think that's really something that we all could learn from right now, is that we can learn what differences are and how can we as society, instead, sorry to say, it doesn't matter if you're right, left, middle, whatever, however on the political spectrum, instead of just saying that's the view, no, talk to some of those individuals. Like Richard and I are having this conversation right now. That's how we learn of what our differences are, but how we can actually come together and really move forward. And that becomes the real key in it. And it creates, and Franklin Covey, Stephen Covey always said synergy.
Yes.
It's where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Instead, it equals greater than that sum. It equals 3, 10, 100. And that becomes the real key in life. Well, Richard, what a great conversation. I think we could continue forever because you and I are both involved in this area. I'll tell you, I'll give you this last question, and then before we go to the recharge round, share with them just if someone was getting started and they've joined this podcast, but of course they have a little bit of that victim mindset of, yeah, that's great what you all are talking about, but that's not me. What would you encourage them to get off of that pity party for themselves?
Well, Man, that's a great question. That's a great question because, I will share two things. First, identify your uniqueness. We all can do something. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to identify and you want to start doing it. And once you start doing it again, it's going to boost your confidence. And when you're confident, you do more. And you may even start doing other things that you always want to do. The next thing that I would share is to be mindful of your self-talk. Because a lot of times what happened, we talk ourselves out of being great. We talk ourselves out of taking action. We talk ourselves out of doing the things that we always want to do. So identify your uniqueness and, be mindful of what you're saying to yourself, because self-talk kills more dreams, than anything else, because a lot of people can do it, but they tell themselves they can't.
Yeah. Oh, that was great advice. I tell you, we should stop right there, but we're not going to. We're not going to let the mic drop yet because Richard's got some more things that he can definitely share with us. I want to ask you real quick, share with them too, if they want to connect with you. Here's a good place with your website and anything that you'd like to share with the audience where they can connect with you, Richard.
Yes, they can connect with me at richardacross.com. I am on LinkedIn at Richard A. Cross. Also on Facebook at Richard A. Cross. And, once they go on those platforms, they will see my goal of empowering 1 million Black male students, because, it's something that I grow to be passionate about. And again, it's because, I was once that student who wasn't supposed to. You can just imagine how many students out there, Black males, who think they can't just because of their situation or just because of where they're coming from. And that was it for me. So, that keeps me going. So every day I have something to look forward to. So I stay motivated.
Super. Well, I know you're the type of individual you're going to achieve that goal, because I can see it. And just looking at your material ahead, you've already making a great impact on a lot of people. And it's great to have that kind of that North Star that guides you. And that's the thing you have. You have that, and that others could do that same thing. Got
Thank
three
you.
questions for you in the recharge round. The first one, of course, the Charge podcast is called Charge for a reason. Create habits around real goals every day. What habit do you think has led to success in your life?
Discipline. Discipline. Without discipline, you will not be able to do anything. The habit of commitment. So discipline, commitment, those things have been with me forever. Even when I didn't know how I was going to change my life, when I didn't know what's going to happen, I was disciplined as an athlete, and I was committed to training. And the next habit that I would say is to follow through on what you say you're going to do. And, so with discipline, commitment, and you following through, man, you can change so much. So that's what I would share with people to start with in regards to, their habits, discipline, commitment, and follow through.
So interesting how it comes back to the story that you shared. As an athlete, you were disciplined, and
Yes.
look what that did, and committed and opened the doors. And then you followed through on what you said. So just amazing how we can see that circle of life really that comes through. Share with us, I have a philosophy called people like to go to the spa to get a massage, that's relaxing, enjoyable. What's a simple positive action that you do each day that helps you move towards your goals?
Well, thanks for that question as well, because, people ask me how and why do I work out every day? So I'm in the gym every single day, 7 days a week. Because not only that I gain physical strength, but it also helps me to clear my mind. So go throughout the day, I go to the gym, get that. And then once I'm in the gym, some of the things that I've encountered during the day, I start to process them throughout that period. So sometimes I gain real insights, just being in the gym, because, I'm starting to reflect on what I have done, throughout the day. So that's a way for me to recharge.
They probably think I set my podcast guest up, but it's amazing how many people realize that exercise is actually the energy booster. And
Yes,
I
sir.
just, so many people, if you're not doing it, just start with a little walk. Just go
Yes, yes.
outside in nature or whatever, and just start with a walk, but start doing it consistently, and you'll see the difference it makes in your life. How about
Yes,
your
sir.
biggest life lesson and what you learned from it, Richard?
Biggest life lesson from?
Yeah, the biggest life lesson that you've learned in life. What did
Never
you learn?
quit.
Never quit.
Never quit. Because that's something that I would share with people. It took me 6 years to get the scholarship to come here. I graduated from high school in 2000, and I didn't get the track and field scholarship until 2006. And even throughout that time, people used to ask me, why are you still training? They used to ask me in high school, why are you still training? Your school is not taking you anywhere. But I would train every single year. Again, you don't have to know how it's going to happen, but you have to be disciplined enough to believe that it can happen. And that was it for me. Never quit, keep going, because your breakthrough could be that day when you decided to quit.
Richard, I tell you, some great information you shared. And Chargers, you've got a lot to go back. This may be one of those podcasts you'll have to go back and listen to again and decide what action, because there's multiple ones that you could take there. But I just truly appreciate Richard sharing and allowing the Chargers really to come along with you and really realize that the potential is within them. Richard, share with them again how they can connect with you.
Yes, you can connect with me at richardacross.com. You can connect with me at Richard A. Cross on LinkedIn and Richard A. Cross on Facebook. And once you go to those platforms, I'm also on Instagram at Master Empowermentor. But once you go to Facebook, you will get connected to Instagram. And once you go to LinkedIn, you will get connected to Instagram as well. But once you go to those platforms, you will see, my goal of empowering 1 million Black male students. So you will see that in the banner. So that's me.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you again for being on the Charge podcast, Richard.
Oh, thank you, man. I really enjoy being here. And, in the future, if you want to guess one more time, I'm here.
Okay, we'll have you back. That's for sure. And I want the Chargers really to realize that I think this is one of those podcasts that you ought to share with other people. So you have 3 to 5 contacts that right now that this would be a great podcast guest for them to hear. So go to your app right now, whatever app that you're on, and share it. Most of them have those 3 little dots. If you press that button, it allows you to share it and send that text message to them, and it shows right up on their text message. I would truly appreciate if you would share this podcast, and I think they would appreciate you for sharing it with them. And I just want to leave you with, Richard said this, identify your uniqueness and be mindful of your self-talk. And you're going to move forward and progress in the ways that you want to in your life. So Chargers, come back next week for another great guest. And thanks for joining us today. Make it a great day.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.